movie theaters are back, and they want you to know it. The Snyder Cut remains the gift that keeps on giving. Headaches, that is, if you're a Warner Brothers executive. The first trailer for that Weird Al biopic is dropped, and it's, well, weird. And Beverly Hills Cop and Star Trek all have fourth films in the works. Or do they? That's right, 918ers. It's Thursday, and I'm your host, the Geek Boy. Joining me tonight is Goldar, the gamer with the golden throat. The Reverend IT Geek is at the producing board, and the headmaster of the 918 Northern Command Post, Mr. Narwhal, is in the house as we kick off another episode of this fantastic week. I want to start by giving a shout to everybody who's in the chat. Looks like we got 3 or 4 folks watching here. I'm trying to see the names, but they're not popping up. I want to thank you guys for tuning in, and if you enjoy what you see, please leave a like and share this video. Also, if you are so inclined, please jump over to our YouTube page and like and subscribe to it as well. We're trying to grow our presence on that platform, so please help us do that if you can. Finally, I want to remind everyone that Fanboys 918 has partnered with an over-the-top OTT service similar to Roku called Audacity TV, and they've just recently started up their service, and we've been fortunate enough to be part of that rollout, and they are right now, and for the foreseeable future anyway, much to their chagrin, carrying our best segments of this program, and those are being graciously produced enough by one of the guys here in the chat, Mr. Narwhal. How you doing tonight, sir? Oh, I think you are muted.
I was muted, and now I'm not. I am doing pretty dang well. How about yourself there, boy?
Well, according to our pre-show banter, I'm not doing so hot, but
hey, I just want to let her know that the first glitch was not done by the technician on this side tonight. So,
nor the host.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
that is a change.
That's
that
right.
is a change, my friends, and I'm happy to hear it. No.
Well, you know, we're moving into our next season, so we got to start changing the format up a little bit.
I know. All the errors need to be
right.
happening on everybody else.
That's right. So, Mr. Narwhal, are you still making the trip once a week to the 918 Protected Archives in the undisclosed location that was once a former salt mine and nuclear fallout shelter down there?
I haven't been out there this week. This week I actually went and saw the Beach Boys and the Temptations at the Great Minnesota Get Together, also known as the Minnesota State Fair this week. So, I will be putting on my pith helmet and rappelling down the shaft this long weekend to get caught up on some stuff.
Well, that is reason. How are you said the Beach Boys and the Temptations?
Yeah, Beach Boys.
Which was the better show?
You know what? I got to say I like the Temptations a little bit better than the Beach Boys. You know, they played sort of back to back, right?
Right.
So the Temptations opened up, and then the Beach Boys came on, and ironically enough, my daughter was the one who actually wanted to get the tickets and see it because I raised her right, and she likes classic music. So
absolutely.
Yeah, but the Beach Boys and the Beach Boy, I guess I think there was only one of the original guys there.
Yeah,
it's funny you bring that up. Sprouts on the in the chat. He said, "Are any of the original Beach Boys alive?"
Yeah, it was what's his name?
Sorry,
Mike
that was how the
Love,
one dude went out.
was the only guy that was there, and let's just say charitably that Mike Love.
Oh.
Yeah, and let's just say charitably that his voice is not what it once was.
Yeah,
it was an entertaining show, but they actually had a couple of the original Temptations on hand for their set, and they were really good. They were really tight.
Wow, well that's good. We saw on Turtle Gal's birthday, we went to see Rick Springfield and Man at Work. And it was a similar deal. It was a good show. Colin Hay, I mean, he was the only original member of Men at Work there, but I mean, it's Colin Hay. He's the lead singer. So, I mean, and he still sounded good, and Rick sounded good too. At least that was my take on it.
Well, Rick was even, he even prefaced the show saying that he had a bit of a cold and stuff, so he apologized. But I thought he still sounded great. But I'll tell you right now, for a 71-year-old, that guy was fit. I'm like,
try 73, dude.
Was he I thought he was 71 when we
73.
Did the math. Still, I hope I look that good. Yeah, I hope I look that good at 73.
We have dude was jacked.
He was. But of course, he's made quite a bit more money than we had in our lifetime, and So I'm quite sure he's had the few opportunities.
But he's
trainers.
also snorted a lot more coke than we have.
Well, from what I understand, that apparently helps you keep a very strong physique. I don't know. I'm not.
It hasn't worked for me, so I can't really recommend it. I mean,
well, Goldar wouldn't know because he spends all his time going to church. And he's also managing another piece of programming for us that is also streaming on Audacity. Goldar, you want to get us back on track?
Yeah. So I head up Fanboys Nightcrawlers. I play a usually horror or action themed game and post a video every Sunday afternoon. Right now we're playing Days Gone, which we just talked about last week, is looking to possibly get a movie adaptation rather. It's about a character by the name of Deacon St. John, played by real life actor Sam Witwer, who is riding his motorcycle across the post-apocalyptic landscape to see if his wife is still alive. We are almost done with the game. We're on this week will be episode 29. We're basically wrapping up the final bits of the game. It's been a beautiful game. I really enjoyed it. It's kind of slow to start, but you have to give it some time, and it gets better over time. It has a very strong feel of The Last of Us, and the story is pretty decent, but it's very different. It has a very GTA flavor to it. So it's definitely worth the time, I will say.
One thing I don't think I've ever asked is like, so when you say he's traveling across the lands trying to find his wife, is this like, like North America, or is this across like Montana? I mean, how vast of travel? How vast are we traveling here? Because I know you said there are times where you can kind of go out into like a map mode, and I believe to help kind of like fast travel back to certain areas. I think you said so. How large is this? I mean, can I go to Tulsa in it?
No, I don't know where it actually takes place. I don't know that they even tell you really, other than it's in the United States for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember it saying specifically which states. But it's
so I can see right now, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, Goldar, and I'll let you get back on it. I can just see this, and this feeds into what we're going to talk about later. When they release the movie, they're going to say it takes place in a specific geographic. That violates the canon. People are going to be screaming, they did stick with the story. Sorry, go ahead, Goldar.
It takes place in Springfield. That's it.
Yeah. There you go. Which Springfield, you'll have to guess.
That's exactly right.
Sorry, Goldar.
No, yeah. So it's a relatively large map. You encounter, I believe it's five camps in the game, but 2 camps are kind of associated with each other. So in my opinion, it's technically 4 camps, but and the map is really large. Like you can travel on foot, but it's really preferable that you travel with a motorcycle. And this is something I forgot to mention too. While you're between camps, there's random freakers that are just walking about everywhere that you'll come across. There are also hordes that you can come across as well. But there are also mountain lions, wolves, and mutant wolves that you'll come across as well. So if you're just out there walking around, it's not terribly safe unless you're at least packing a little bit.
Damn.
So it does sound like Oklahoma then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah.
So I guess another question I have for you. So, you said you were getting close to wrapping it up. We're possibly going to get a movie about it and everything. If you had your druthers, if you said, all right, we're gonna do a second game, Goldar, what would you like to see in your second game? What are some things that you think? If they've done the story about him searching for his wife and everything like that, what's the next story idea that you think the game could develop into?
That's tough to say, but I would say I'd like to see them further develop what they were trying to do in this game, is try to find a cure.
Mm-hmm.
They ultimately kind of gave up, and well, they didn't necessarily give up. There was turmoil in the camps that happened before they could get close to it. Gotcha. So I'd like to see them develop more of the story towards developing a cure for it, as well as well, you'll kind of see there's kind of a cliffhanger for this game.
Oh, all right. Something for everyone to look forward to.
Yeah, that could lead into a sequel.
They better do a sequel then.
I think there's some room there for that. As far as gameplay goes, I would still like to continue what they did with the motorcycle, where you can upgrade your parts and things like that.
Right.
But I'd also like to see them do something with the weapons too, like upgrade your weapons. Like, you know, you doing certain missions will unlock a larger magazine or a better scope or a laser sight or something like that. Like little things that you can attach to your weapon. I know, since you know the world in this game essentially went to shit essentially. I know some of those things you may not necessarily come across, like a laser sight or anything like that, but just something to like give your weapons a little bit more pizzazz. Probably more customizations as far as like making your own makeshift weapons would be great. You can already make pipe bombs and proximity mines and timed mines and Molotov cocktails and things like that. But making other stuff would be cool too. Like if you could make you already have a crossbow in it, but it'd be cool if you could make like a bow and arrow or some other little things like that.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So those are the things that I would change. I'm sure there's a lot of other really cool stuff that they could do, but that's all I can think of at the top of my head.
Awesome. All right. Well, cool. Well, hey, Bucky King just joined us in the chat. Welcome, Bucky.
Hey, Bucky. Also, I want to catch up on Sprout's comments. He said, "Hi, puppy." I know he probably said that when we had the random bark. So pretty much just the Beach Boy by now. He's back on our improvisational topic, and he still wants Jesse's girl. Effing move on, Rick.
Yep.
And I'm sure this is related to Goldar saying that we weren't going to get a sequel to Days Gone. Sprout said if they stopped making zombie apocalypse games, it would be a freaking miracle. So he probably can't believe we're not getting a sequel to it. Speaking of that, what's the
next last comment? I made a stick.
What's the next game we're doing?
The next game we're going to play is The Last of Us, the first one.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I had talked about doing Resident Evil 2, and I'm going to do that at some point because it'll probably be a short game. It'll probably only be like 4 to 5 episodes.
Oh, really?
Just because shorter than a Netflix series.
Sorry, that did not last long. I already saw. We all talked. Have we ever talked about that got canceled already?
I don't think so.
No, we hadn't talked about it being canceled.
We didn't get a chance. The show started, then it got canceled.
Yep.
Well, I mean, they kind of did it to themselves. Like they should have known walking into this. Like you can't just do whatever you want with like a property that's beloved by millions and millions of people. Like if you're going to come in and try to change the original story, you're going to have to bring the A game. Like 100%.
Paul Anderson didn't, but okay.
But you know what? Paul Anderson got to lean on all these like European and Asian audiences that just ate this stuff up, and like they don't care. They'll just watch whatever. Have you seen like some of the weird Japanese horror movies? There's one that's called Toilet of the Dead, right? And it's called Toilet of the Dead Zombie Ass, and it's these zombies that they don't run at you like normal people. They run at you backwards, like ass first. That's not even the weirdest part of the movie. At the very end of the movie, things start like flying around in the air, and there's this weird like turd-looking zombie.
No, you tell me you've seen this. All right, tell me you've seen this.
I have, yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, has Narwhal seen this? I mean, he's our
Asian cinema guru.
Yeah, I have not seen it, but I could do a whole 2-hour show on some of the batshit crazy I've seen come out of Asian cinema.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it was the weirdest movie. It was the weirdest movie I've ever seen. Like I didn't know what. I had to get up and like take a walk after I watched that because
I don't know when I lost control of the show, but
you never had it there, bro.
Yeah, I
never had it.
But we need to do a Talking Geek episode of the weirdest movie we've ever seen.
I think that would take the cake.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh my God, that's crazy. All
but
right,
yeah,
so back to it. So what you said you're going to play the first of The Last of Us?
yeah, I'm gonna play The
Okay.
Last of Us right now. I am playing the PlayStation 4 remake of it
Mm-hmm.
because they came out with it in like 2013, and I think they remade it in like 2015 for PlayStation 4, and they've just re-released yet another remake for it for PlayStation 5, and apparently the graphical upgrade is unbelievable.
Really? All right.
Yeah, so I wish I had a PlayStation 5 to play it. I don't currently, but
Not many other people do.
yeah,
They're all on
well,
cargo containers.
yeah. But it's definitely worth it. I loved the first one. I feel like the second one is a truly a more superior game, just in some of the gameplay aspects and the story. But the first one's fantastic, so I want everybody to see that. So I'm playing that one, and then you can also catch the other one currently on our Facebook page. But I'm going to be moving a lot of these episodes over to YouTube for people to watch
Awesome.
in
Awesome.
better quality.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. The YouTube or the Facebook algorithm doesn't support high def as well as we would like. But and golly, I'm looking at Sprout's comments.
Yeah.
That's porn. Zombie ass is a fetish, you perv. And weirdest movie he's ever seen twice. So moving on, as we say, we're running these segments on Audacity as well as the YouTube channel. One block of programming that's not running on either one of those is our 7:00 Friday night slot called Reverend. You got it?
Sci-Fi Friday.
That's right. Boy, I've been missing that. Well, okay. Now for those who tuned in last week, we had a huge, as a former occupant of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, it's a huge pair of episodes. That's right. We held a double feature hosted by myself, Goldar, and the B5 Babe. And that was a massive payoff for some stuff that's been brewing since the series began. It went a bit long, but neither Turtle Gal nor Shoe Gal cared because we got done before the champagne ran out. So they were all good with that. Now, this week is not near that momentous, but it's still pretty epic. We're down to our last 5 episodes of season 3, and 4 of them are pretty damn good. And you're in luck this week because it's one of those 4. Season 3 has been a year of massive change and upheaval aboard that little space station that could. And this week we catch up with the former chief medical officer of the station, Dr. Franklin, as he begins a spiritual quest to both shake off his STEM addiction and discover himself. All this plays out against the backdrop of Sheridan recruiting the telepath Lita Alexander to help him exploit a newfound weakness in the shadow vessels. And if any of this sounds exciting or even remotely interesting, then tune in tomorrow night at 7:00 as we present season 3, episode 18 of Babylon 5 called Walkabout. Now, as always, I'll be some of us will be in the live chat, and we'll be making comments and just having a good old time celebrating Babylon 5. Now, Rev, I invited you. Do you know if you're going to be able to make it or not?
We have not been able to decide that yet, so hopefully I will have an answer for you by tomorrow.
Okay, that's fine. We're used to this last minute stuff around here.
Yep.
And you know, the other thing too is it's just been one of those crazy things. I mean, all these episodes except for the one next week were worth getting everybody together, and I'll be damned if frickin' Brunson Bullets doesn't want to do a live show for Gray 17 is Missing.
Are you serious?
She loves that frickin' episode.
I know.
She loves it. And I'm like, dude, that it's not as hot garbage as TKO was, but it's not great. I mean,
Right.
it's one of those things that looked really good on paper, but it just didn't work out.
Yep.
But again, that's next week. Tomorrow night at 7 p.m. is Walkabout. That's Sci-Fi Friday tomorrow night, Babylon 5. So with all that shameless self-promotion out of the way, let's get down to business. And I'm happy to report that our first topic does not involve anyone who's died. Well,
Yay!
unless you count Mikhail Gorbachev.
Oh, true. Yeah, we could.
Unless you count Mikhail Gorbachev, but he's a bit out of our wheelhouse.
Yep.
So, but actually, we're going to kick it off with an item that's Mr. Narwhal kind of pointed out. Movie theaters are back. and they want us to know it. Mr. Narwhal, you want to kind of lead with this and let us know what's going on?
Well, yeah, my first question is, what are you guys doing this weekend? What are you guys doing this Saturday?
Well, Saturday, I'm 3 o'clock. I'm busy, but I have no idea why.
Well, just because it just so happens that on Saturday the 3rd, it is official $3 movie day in almost all theaters across this great nation of ours.
Really?
The movie theaters have all banded together, and they have decided that on Saturday the 3rd, for pretty much every movie theater that's out there, and in fact, I can even give you a list of all your local theaters that are participating in this. All showings are $3.
That is it. Now, I'm looking at the graphic that the Rev's got it. Now, we're talking IMAX as well.
IMAX as well. Every showing, every movie, doesn't matter what it is. It can be the big giant recliners, or it can be a little stool in your backyard. Every movie, $3.
Wow.
Well, typically Labor Day is not a big movie weekend for theaters. That's typically one of the lowest box office weekends. And in fact, for this weekend, there are no major new releases. There's 2 or 3 like small indie films that are coming out, but there are no major new releases from any of the studios, which really makes it perfect for them to do this promotion. Really, what they're trying to do is they're trying to get people into the theaters, not just because it's Labor Day and that's typically a low attendance time, but they're really trying to get people excited and engage in the idea of going to a theater again. After the whole past couple of years that we've had. I think it's time for people to remember why we love sitting in a room with 200 other people and having a shared experience with a really great movie.
Should be interesting to see how this pans out, because you're right. Labor Day is usually I don't see it as a huge movie draw weekend, because it's pretty much the last 3-day weekend of the summer, if you will, if you're fortunate to be in those areas where the warmer weather is still around. So, people are making their last minute camping trips, their last minute runs to the lake to try to enjoy that warm sun and sunny weather out there. But, I think it's kind of interesting for the people that aren't really kind of those lake buffs or whatever, to have that opportunity, like, let's go to the movies and not have to break the bank. So I'm interested to see how well this gamble pays off, because this is the first year they've ever done something like this. Is that right, Mr. Narwhal?
That is correct. This is the first year they've done it, and they're hopeful that if it is a success, that they'll be able to continue this on in years to come.
You done good, Fred. So,
yeah. No kidding. Yeah. That's cool. My boy.
Yeah. And just because there's no new releases doesn't mean that there's not great films out to see. Yeah. And in fact, there's actually some new versions of some old classics that you may not have thought about. For example, this is the first weekend for the Spider-Man No Way Home extended cut. Yeah. That has something like, I want to say, like 20 new minutes in it.
Really? I did not know that.
So, they've I believe it has like something like 20 new minutes.
Yeah, it's significant.
It is a significant portion. And then the other one that's coming out this weekend that I've heard really good things about, the original blockbuster, the one that started it all, ladies and gentlemen, Jaws, is being re-released in the theaters.
No.
In 3D.
Oh, well, they must really have a lot of faith in it.
Yeah.
I have heard that the 3D conversion on this is impeccable. I've heard that it's supposed to be one of, if not the best, 3D conversion that we've ever seen.
Did Spielberg supervise it?
Spielberg apparently supervised it.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Like I said, they are really hyping it up. They're saying that, obviously it's not Jaws 3D and that, stuff's not coming right at the camera or anything, but they've given it that sort of deep screen kind of treatment where out there in the ocean, you feel like you're in a freaking aquarium, and it's got that really sort of deep focus, so you can just look out over the ocean and look at everything that's going on. Like I said, I've heard it's supposed to be a really, really good conversion.
I wouldn't mind. See, I don't know how I can fool the turtle gal into going in there. I'll tell her it's a movie about teeth. I know it's continuing education, babe. Because the last time they did a Jaws 3D film, the results weren't that great. But my faith, my faith is in Spielberg. So, and the other thing too is there's a lot of movies out like Beast. Is it called Beast with Idris Elba? That people may not want to drop $14 for, but they might give it a shot for $3. So exactly. I think that would be really cool. Movies like that.
And again, there's also movies like Bullet Train that's out that a lot of people haven't seen yet. That is amazing.
Yes, it is.
And then of course, there's little small independent films like Top Gun Maverick that very few people have seen.
Right.
And Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah. Has anybody seen Nope on the panel?
I have seen Nope. It was awesome. It was absolutely great. Yeah.
So I mean, when the Nope first dropped, it looked kind of like kind of that whole serious, eerie type thing, and then after a couple more commercials dropped, it seems, I don't know, there seems to be a comedy element to it. So I mean, which is it? Is it more kind of horror scare, or is it more kind of comedy horror? I mean, what kind of genre of this? I mean, it looks, I know it's alien relative and stuff, but I don't know. I can't get a feel for what to anticipate from this movie.
It's hard to really categorize in that it is a monster movie. It is a horror film. It does have a comedic element to it. It's not like, laugh track, kind of pratfall-y kind of thing. But really, it's just a really well-made movie. Jordan Peele has really knocked it out of the park again, and it's not just a straightforward kind of film either. It's got a lot of layers. It has a lot to say, not just about the idea of a horror film, but it's also talking about sort of what it's like to work in the industry in times too. So really, really good film. Yeah, they are showing all of these films at the AMC South Roads 20, the Synergy Tulsa, the Cinemarket Tulsa, the B&B Sepulpa Cinema 8, the Circle Cinema, the Cinemark Broken Arrow, B&B Tulsa Star World 20, AMC Classic Owasso 12, AMC Classic Tulsa Hills 12, and the Regal Warren Broken Arrow.
The Regal War needs all the help they can get.
That seems to really like almost everything you just listed I don't think there's a theater you missed.
So you heard it from Narwhal, folks. Go see your $3 film at the Warren and buy your $20 glass of beer while you're there.
Right. And your $40 bag of small popcorn.
Yeah. But no, seriously though, the movie theaters need the support and maybe check out some of those films that you might have missed in the theater or passed up because you weren't sure if they were going to be worthwhile. Heck, man, you can't rent something on streaming for $3 hardly anymore. So let's check it out. However, something that is not going to be in theaters that apparently folks regret making, some folks regret making, is the Snyder Cut. And that's by the way, Lori Van Pool is here. And I'll real quick before we jump into this topic, diving back to Sprout, he wants to know which IMAX theater is playing the Japanese zombie ass movie. Figure Goldar could look that up for him. So I actually want to start with Goldar because we posted a story a few days ago about some executives, some unnamed, I love them, they're always unnamed executives at Warner Brothers saying that they, were regretting that the Snyder Cut got made, and it got more than its share of conversation from our various people, and Goldar was one of them. So Goldar, you want to talk about this you want to kick off the discussion on this about how Warner Brothers has a faction inside that regrets the Snyder Cut?
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of, I almost feel like it's ridiculous that they would say that, or that this would come out, given that the reception of the original Justice League movie was so bad. It was so bad.
Oh,
how bad was it?
Oh my God. It's so bad that you want to go back in time and you want to slap Joss Whedon's mother in the face before he was born to say, don't have this baby.
Woo! Did you hear that? He's ready to sacrifice Firefly, Buffy, and the Avengers on the altar of Justice League. Excuse me, Justice League.
The Justice League cut was so bad. It was terrible.
Yeah, it was.
Like we can sit here and pick it apart all day, but it's like, they gave Jesse Einsberg too much to do. He's just not a good Lex Luthor.
I know someone in our group though that would debate you. He loved Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, and that's the Blues Man.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He thought
he loved it. He loved that.
He did. He thought it was an interesting take on it.
Oh man, like I can't, honestly, like I can't really with Jesse Eisenberg. Like most of his roles, like the only role that I thought he was great in was The Social Network because he played a nerd that was a douchebag.
Yeah,
like which I don't feel like is too far off.
I'm kind of seeing a pattern here.
Yeah. Right. I don't feel like that's too far off from what he is in real life, but like,
he's been great in Zombieland because that's his role. That's true. But, he's playing the same type of role, but not from Snyder Cut or anything like that. But
when I think of Lex Luthor, I'm thinking of somebody that's actually threatening, like somebody that could get in a big mech suit and like really like wreck stuff, not somebody that like is very quippy and has like long little red gangly hair. Like no, like are you Arcade? Like that's who you are. You're Arcade. You remember that Marvel character?
Oh, God.
I do. Yeah, I hadn't thought about it. I had not thought about it until you just said that. I'm like, oh my God, I can see the cover of the comic book with him on it. And I'm like, that is perfect. Yeah, he could have been Arcade easily.
Yeah, Goldar with the deep pulls, man. Dang.
Yeah, gotta love it. Gotta love
deep cut here. Then we got the death. Well, we got the death of Superman in Batman v Superman, which is probably too much for that movie. But then we got the return of Superman, and we skipped over all the really cool parts about the return of Superman, and then just we brought him back, and then we didn't even give him the black suit. It was like, what the hell?
And don't forget that awesome looking version of I keep wanting to say Darkseid, but that's not him.
Steppenwolf.
Steppenwolf. Oh yeah.
With this, like,
forget how awesome. Yeah.
It's like, what is this? And then then we cut out Cyborg's whole story arc, which was so much better.
Dude, that was criminal. Yeah, that was. We know how Ray Fisher feels about it, but that was criminal.
And we were like, oh well, how much better could your spot in the film could have been? Like during his time where he was talking about his experience being so bad. Like I believe that his experience was bad, but at the same time, I was kind of like, yeah, but how much better could your portion of the film have been, given how bad your experience was? It sounds like everything was terrible. No, it was fantastic. Yeah. It was way, way better.
Oh, absolutely.
And then not only that, like they gave the Flash nothing to do at the very end of the movie, but like when you contrast it with the Snyder Cut, he had a way better ending for what the Flash did, which sets up for his own film, which was like, who supervised this? Like who let this out and said, well, this is perfect for cinema releases?
Yeah,
everyone, a bunch of guys that are no longer with the company.
Yeah, you got to remember. We also got to remember that, and correct me if I'm wrong, there, Geek Boy, is that basically Zack Snyder had to step back from making this due to the family incident.
Okay, so
sensitive, and so kind of had to kind of step away from the baby. And basically, it just got put into foster care and just beat the shit out of it.
Wow, dude! I thought my analogy about going back to the as for Star Trek, going back to the abusing spouse was bad. I think you may have done me one worse there. What you said is essentially true, but a lot of things have come out that they were in the middle of filming. In order to meet all these release dates, they started filming Justice League like as soon as they wrapped Batman v Superman. Like, so they were, that movie had opened when they were deep into production on Justice League, and a lot of the stories came out as soon as Batman v Superman hit its second weekend and had that 70-some-odd% drop, and they were realizing this was not a $1 billion film. Which, by the way, it could have been if they'd left that other 20 minutes in that's in the Renegade cut. Okay, that's all I mean, I'm still not saying that's not a perfect film, but it's the best version of that film that exists. Okay, but again, Studio Meddling wanting to squeeze one more showtime in a multiplex, which can show it on 4 different screens at once. So I'm not quite understanding their logic there. But in any event, as soon as that dropped it, they lost faith in Zack Snyder's vision, and they began to pester him and meddle with him and interfere with him, which is unusual because Warner Brothers has typically been a very director-friendly studio, but usually the directors are just making a movie. This is something that they looked at as their Marvel. This was going to be their cash cow, and which I believe it could have been, but anyway. And so he had to fight them every day. He would basically have to shoot the movie, start, go edit the movie, and then fight off a bunch of studio notes every day. And then when he had that, I mean, he was fighting for this film every step of the way. Then when he had that family tragedy hit, I think he just kind of like threw his hands up and said, you know what, I've got to deal with this, and I need to reduce my stress level. And here's one quick, easy way to freaking do that, And so he was basically semi-demoted before he was released from the film, but he did finish shooting it because he at least thought, well, I think in his mind, he thought, well, I can at least film, quit shooting it, and they can, someone else can supervise post. He had no idea they were going to bring Joss Whedon in to just butcher the damn thing. And
I will give Joss a little credit in the sense that I do like the soundtrack better for the Justice League versus Zack Snyder.
The Everybody Knows opening of the Justice cut, that's the only thing that's really freaking great. And they're like, damn, I could have swore that was a Snyder cut that they left in. So I want to read something out of this article here. This was posted from Variety, and now keep in mind, and Mr. Narwhal, I'll let him have a rebuttal if he has one. But Deadline and Variety, and I think there's one more. They're not real trade. I mean, they're trades, but they're basically mouthpieces for the studios because each one of them is owned by one of the media conglomerates that owns the studio. And they all have different insider people that all kind of get to put their own stuff in. So this is what Variety reports, is that executives over at Warner Brothers are having regrets about bringing director Zack Snyder back to complete his 4-hour cut of Justice, which cost the studio an extra $70 million to complete because a completed version of his film did not already exist. The only reason that WB let this happen was because of the years-long campaign to release the Snyder cut, which is also shrouded in controversy, as Snyder has been accused of weaponizing the fans to make this happen. And it goes into some other things. But anyway, it says, according to Variety, the studio feels that Zack Snyder's Justice League never should have happened. That's in quotes. The report goes on to say, rather than quiet the unceasing online campaign to hashtag release the Snyder cut, the 4-hour HBO Max feature only further entrenched the vocal and extremely online Snyderverse fan base in opposition to the leadership at the studio in general and DC in particular. It's explained that this group may be hard to win over, but DC has to do a better job of cultivating the kind of compelling franchises that will enable them to build the kind of passionate, engaged, and excited fan base that can drown out the haters. That takes patience, which has often been in short supply at DC, where corporate overlords have long made it clear they want their own in-house rival to the MCU, but have failed to understand the kind of blood, sweat, and tears it can take to build on that kind of juggernaut. So I want to address that real quick. One of the things that always gets my blood boiling is when a corporation or a representative of one blames its customers, in this case, the fandom, for things they don't like. I.e., we put out a bad widget and it's your fault you didn't lap it up. Okay. And to be fair, there are elements of fandom that are toxic for sure. We've all seen them. We've all had to deal with them. But that's true for every medium, sports, music, whatever. There's an element of everything, every pastime that people have has an element of fandom that's toxic. So why they're treating this as anything new, I don't really understand, right? But I've always believed that it's a very small, much like there's another group of toxic personalities that seem to exist in the Twitter sphere that I think is very small but loud. But getting the Snyder Cut release was a huge win for fandom. Okay, I think we can all agree on that. And Warner Brothers, if you're listening, I'll clue you in on why this movement won't go away after you gave them what they wanted. Okay, you ready? You guys ready for this? You guys ready for why I think this movement won't die? The Snyder Cut didn't suck. If the thing would have sucked, it'd have been a 4-hour turd that made Justice League look like Citizen freaking Kane. Then everybody would have tucked their tails between their legs and gone home. But guess what? It was actually good. Now, I don't think it would have had a life in a theater as a 4-hour film, but it damn sure could have thrived as a 3.5-hour movie. I mean, Lord of the Rings proved that. Avatar proved that. So I think they've shown that if story and runtime can support them, or sorry, if story can support a massive runtime, the audiences will too. And I just think it's personally put a lot of egg on a lot of people's faces that didn't want this movie to see the light of day, and so they'd like to see it go away. What do you guys think about that?
So would you go with? Can we go with Narwhal? I mean, he hasn't really had a chance to jump in there. If we could, so Narwhal, I'd like you to go first, sir.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things here. One, you have to remember that the people who are saying this at Warner Brothers are the same people who are A, no longer there, but B, these are the same people who have basically been, you could theoretically say, been thrown under the bus for the abject failure of Warner Brothers DC slate over the past few years, and they are just basically looking for someone to blame other than themselves. This is them basically saying that, hey, it's not my fault, it's the fault of this or that or these or the others. And considering that, the massive bloodletting that's going on over at Discovery Warner Brothers these days, it's not surprising that they are looking to basically shift blame anywhere and everywhere they can. Having said that, though, I mean, it's very clear that Warner Brothers really wants to bury the idea of the Snyder Cut as effectively as they can. For example, I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's a documentary filmmaker named Leslie Iwerks, and she's currently working on a project covering the history of DC. And she reached out to Warner Brothers to license some clips of the Snyder Cut for her documentary. And she was told, in no uncertain terms, that the only version that is accepted and available and acknowledged is the Justice Cut.
Oh, no wow!
Not even. Yeah, they are trying to bury the existence of this film.
Do I need to order this off Amazon on Blu-ray? Is it going to leave Max?
I would not be surprised.
I was kind of curious about that since it's gone on sale and everything. I mean, has anyone looked into how much money it's made compared to Justice League? I mean, has there been any comparison for that? But I don't know if someone wants
to because it's been on HBO Max. It was never released into the theaters. It's like comparing apples and kittens. There's just no comparison there.
Yeah, I just didn't know if there's a way to track where how much has been sold and everything like that. But before we go too much further, Geek Boy, can Goldar chime in real quick? You had quite a bit of long run there, so I want to make sure we get a chance.
No, that's fine. Yeah.
Well, and here's the other thing too. Like, we got an article not too long ago that said that the whole movement for the Snyder Cut was all influenced by bots. So it's kind of like, was it really influenced by bots, or are you saying it's influenced by bots? It's hard to tell because there are a shit ton of bots on Twitter.
That's true.
And on Instagram. So it's very possible that bots may have helped influence this. But, and I'm sure, I'm not that well versed in information technology to see how quickly you can spin up an army of bots or a botnet for comments and things like that, just for the fun of it. But it seems like it would be more expensive or more time consuming to do that than it would actual people requesting for this movie to be made, especially in our current landscape where everything is a conspiracy and we want the truth to be out. So, it wouldn't surprise me if of a true campaign of people out there that really said, hey, release the Snyder Cut because we want to see the original version of this. We know that it exists out there somewhere, and we're seeing like leaks and hints of it all over the place. Just release it. It wouldn't surprise me if it's true, but the idea that the bot army is what cultivated this, and then now we get this article that they regret that the movie came out, which to me is kind of like, but you released this movie at the height of the pandemic when everybody was at home and there was no reason to watch HBO Max.
Right.
Like,
yeah. That's the reason I have HBO Max, you guys.
That's the reason a lot of people have HBO.
I mean, it really is. And I mean, getting Babylon 5 was just the icing that made me keep it. But yeah.
So here's one thing that let me just tack on to Goldar's comments there about the bot army. So while we cannot be 100% sure about the bot army's impact in the Snyder Cut, we do know that a significant amount of fake votes by bots did come into play for the Oscars and Zack Snyder this year. So if you're not aware, in trying to make the Oscars more relevant this year, they had 2 fan-voted awards that they gave out. One was for the Oscars cheer moment, and the other was for the Oscars fan favorites. And so both awards, the Oscars fan favorite was won by Army of the Dead, and the Oscars cheer moment was Flash's runaround time in Justice League. And they found out that a significant portion of those votes were cast by bots.
Oh wow.
Well, now here's the thing. I can speak only to the release the Snyder Cut campaign, not to what Narwhal said about the bots or the voting for the Oscars. I want to keep that separate. I read an article about that when they were when they were investigating all that and everything, and they said that in most of these campaigns, but there's bots in everything. In all this stuff, there's bots that they mobilize, and they said a normal campaign like this, you look at it, and there's anywhere from 8 to 11% that are bots. Okay. But in this one, it could be as high as 13 to 14% bots. So that's a significant increase. And I thought, wait a minute, are you telling me that is at least 80 to 85% of these people were real? Then shut up. I mean, they didn't say it was like 80% of them were bots. They said like basically at the most 20% of them were bots. Well, I'm sorry, that's still a significant amount of real people that wanted this movie released. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. There's a lot of ass covering going on in this thing.
But the one thing I'm just curious about is like, why do they feel like they've got to cover their ass? It's been a tremendous hit. You've won favor with the fans by giving them what they want. Now, truly, I think they're, is like, we got to be careful with that, because now we've kind of put ourselves in it. If the fans keep cheering for something, they're going to expect us to do it, and they're just
oh my God.
I know. And then they're going to be ruthless if we don't give it to them every time. So I can understand that. But this totally try to distance yourself for something that's obviously been a huge success. I mean, like, I'm sorry, take my wagon and hitch that to that horse, because I want to ride that thing forever.
Well, there's a couple of problems. One, the studios are no longer being run by people that love movies. They're being run by bean counters and accountants and tech people. Okay. And the other is David Zaslav is actually digging into things and figuring out what people want. And he's got this revolutionary idea that they can make more money if they make shit people want to watch.
Good theory. Hope it pans out for him.
Yeah. And also to go back to
I really wanted to watch that Batgirl movie, but
I do too. Well, I hear they're going to release that 90-minute, director's cut,
It's locked in the vault somewhere.
You know what I didn't ask to watch? A sequel to The Joker.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. I didn't either. But Zaslav looked at that and said, we spent $70 million or $50 million on that movie, and it made over $1 billion. We're doing another one of those. That's what he's looking at.
Plus Oscars.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what he's looking at. He's looking, what can we make for a price that people will go see? and he looked at Batgirl and said, "We made that for a price, but ain't nobody going to go see that." At least that's what his take on it was.
And I tell you right now, I wanted my money back after I saw Joker. I was like, no, I'm sorry.
Joker is a fantastic movie that I'll probably never watch again.
That's where I'm like, is lightning going to hit twice with this?
No, there's no way in hell. Unless Margot Robbie, or I'm sorry, who's playing?
Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say. I mean, if you throw Margot Robbie if they're naked, yeah, I'll go see that again.
Dude, it's a musical, right?
Yeah, I know, and I'm like,
okay. I'll say one thing: this movie's going to be batshit insane. It'll win that award for sure.
Yeah.
But and on this other thing, and then I need to let Goldar and some other guys jump in. But there's something else I want to kind of touch on just real quick. What actually, for purposes of discussion, what is the Snyderverse? I mean, is it the cast? I mean, with the exception of Ray Fisher, most of them are still intact.
I don't think it's the cast. I think it's that dark and grimy and extremely nihilistic view of superherodom.
See, I looked at it more as the gods among us type, because like Snyder didn't even direct Wonder Woman, but it's definitely part of the first one. But it is definitely part of the Snyderverse, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I wouldn't say Aquaman was, but was it? I mean, he cast all these. So you're saying it's more of a tone and a take.
That is my thought on it. Just because the Joss Whedon version of this movie, it's a much lighter tone. It's more jokey. It's more Joss Whedon,
right?
If you would.
Well, it's also got the element of a brighter future at the end of it. While Zack Snyder's is basically, Superman still falls. They're the good guys and the bad guys are teaming up against the Boy Scout, and but what was great is that happened in the comic books. Superman became Darkseid's pretty much little minion for a while there, and we've seen this in the animated movies before, and guess what? It worked. People still loved it. I'm like, my God, people, I know we've said this so many times on these shows. Why not just look at that and just make it live action? I mean, there's been so many great animated movies for DC that it just kills me. They just can't seem to find live action.
And this is something, again, Narwhal could probably speak more about this than I could, but it's my understanding that under its previous structure, like animation was its own unit, and live, and like never the twain shall meet. And one of the things Zaslav's trying to do is tear down these walls. Like, hey guys, your guys over here in this department, they're doing this way better than you. You need to go talk to them. And that's how he's wanting this thing to run. And he's also, shit canning things that he doesn't think are going to make the studio any money, which, again, did Justice League make money? It sold a lot of Blu-rays, and it sold a lot of toys. I mean, they've got like Superman in the black suit hot toys out there that are going for $250 a pop. So anyway, I've talked enough. You guys keep going.
You guys got anything? Go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, I think we pretty much nailed it for everything on there. That Snyder Cut was not a mistake. People liked it. It was probably the high point of everything that he's put out for DC. I mean, we liked Man of Steel. Batman vs Superman was a misstep, a big misstep. But the Justice League Snyder Cut stuck the landing, in my opinion, out of his trilogy.
Absolutely.
I agree. Snowball, you got any parting comments before we move on to the next topic?
No parting comments. I'm looking forward to this next topic because it is related, as I understand.
It is. It's very tangential. I'm not going to try to say the word. And I'm drinking nothing but water tonight, folks.
To each other.
Yeah. And because one of the things that came up when we were talking about Justice League was that, did it really make Warner Brothers any money? I mean, well, we don't know. We don't know how many HBO Max subscribers we got from it. We don't know how many Blu-rays it sold. And so there's a lot of things that Warner Brothers maybe can't quantify or won't quantify, but something that they can sure put their finger on and say they can't afford to let get away. And that is their partnership with Legendary Pictures. I mean, damn, between what's going on between there's another podcast that calls it the axe of Zaslav. Basically, he's swinging this big axe and he's just cutting stuff left and right. Between that going on, between this apparently infighting in DC and now this development, I didn't know that you could actually put a corporation on suicide watch, but I guess anything is possible in our post-pandemic era. So for those that don't know, Legendary Entertainment, which is one of Warner Brothers' most prolific production partners, is looking to move out and away from Warner Brothers with now that their contract has expired. They had a contract, I believe it was for 5 years or whatnot, and it's now expired. And, you know, all things being equal, I'd say WB would probably want to be, you know, re-upping that. But Legendary got burned during the pandemic a lot during this. What was the guy's name that was in charge? Not Toby Emmerich. Maybe it was Toby Emmerich and his Project Popcorn, the whole day and date release thing.
Yeah, it was. Oh, what is his name? Jason Kilar.
Jason Kilar. Yeah, he was the genius that's ever going to drop everything day and date. Either take everything to streaming or do it day and date. Now, granted, we're in the middle of a pandemic. You know, who knows what the right move would have been, but by all accounts, he handled it wrong internally because a lot of these people didn't know it was happening until the announcement. I mean, and a lot of people got burned. I mean, not just Warner, but like everybody remembers the ScarJo lawsuit, right? Everybody, they had to write big checks to Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins to cover their back end stuff, but Legendary, they got burned the most because they paid for all these movies. Their revenue source was the box office, was all the back end stuff. Warner Brothers gets a piece of it, of course, but Legendary funds the lion's share of these budgets. So like if take a movie like Dune cost 200 million, Legendary probably put up anywhere from 50 to 75% of that 200 million. You know, Warner Brothers is on the hook for 25 and for the marketing and all that, you know, and this thing got so bad, it was actually going to trial. And it ended with Warner Brothers writing a very large but undisclosed check to Legendary. And I mean, I pulled up just for grins and giggles their filmography. My God, I was not joking when I said they're one of their most prolific partners. Their first film with Legendary's credit was Batman Begins. They did Superman Returns. They did you know, and they've got some stuff that didn't land, like Lady in the Water, and they did 300. There's Zack Snyder. You know, they did the entire Dark Knight trilogy. So that right there has paid for that partnership. They did Watchmen. They did oh my gosh, Ninja Assassin, which, you know, wasn't a huge film, but didn't have a big budget. They
Still
did things
cool
like,
film though.
huh?
Still a cool film though.
Oh yeah, yeah. Clash of the Titans. You know, they did Inception. They did The Town, so they can do prestigious stuff too. You know, they did the Hangover trilogy. I mean, these guys, I mean, and even stuff that really didn't leave a huge that wasn't a box office behemoth, but still left a huge cultural impact, something like Pacific Rim. You know, they did that. They did and they've done all the MonsterVerse movies. They did Dracula Untold. They did I mean, the list just goes on and on. They did the Warcraft movie, which I'm looking at these numbers. Some of these movies made a lot more money than we think they did, guys. Like Goldar said, thank God for those Asian markets that they've got. They did all the new Jurassic World movies. They did the Mamma Mia movies. They did Black Klansman. I mean, these guys are just they did Enola Holmes for Netflix.
Oh wow!
So these guys are they
Which
know how to
Enola is getting a second season.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
They know how to make a movie, and you want to talk about something that Warner Brothers cannot afford to lose right now are people that can bring a movie in on time and on budget, you know? And so one of my points I want to make, and then I'm gonna throw it off to the panel is, you know, if they've made it clear they want to break up, that means they're looking for a new boyfriend already, right?
Well, I would almost say that if they're looking for a breakup, that means they've already found another potential boyfriend, and they're trying to think, how do I get out of this relationship?
Or several. I mean, I'm just saying, a studio that's been struggling for a long time that needs a partner They already have one. They could, but another one, if they had two partners that could prove they could make good movies. And if I'm the president of Paramount Pictures and I've got $1.4 billion of that Top Gun cheddar burning a hole in my pocket, man, I'd be making a run at this. I mean, Sony might be wanting to do a big push too, but that's, I mean, I don't know. I mean, and who knows? But what do you guys think?
Oh man,
Go ahead.
I think this is going to be a tough one because, you know, you have to wonder like, what's the plan here, Zaslav? Like you're slashing budgets on everything, like everything must go. Like, is this Warner Brothers going to be the studio of discounts? Like they just make these super low budget films. They think they're going to like crawl back to fame by making, you know, these films with like super low budgets but like super high revenue returns, and it's like, yeah, that doesn't happen every single time though. Like,
right.
So it makes me wonder, like, what's your plan here? Like, you're letting go like one of your studios that made movies that people actually want to watch. Like, and it's like you haven't hired like a football team of of writers that can like make billions of dollars like it's Marvel Studios or Star Wars. So it's like, I don't know what you're doing here. I mean, in theory or on paper, it looks like it's a good plan, but I'm kind of like, I don't know, especially if they're going to lose the HBO name. Like if they just decide to go with Discovery Plus, like, this is going to be interesting. This is either going to be like the biggest dumpster fire that like we can get a bag of popcorn, pun intended there, to watch while it burns, or like we're witnessing the biggest turnaround in history.
Now to be clear, all the bad blood between Warner's and Legendary happened before Zaslav took over, right? So he could salvage this thing and look like king shit. I mean, he really could, but who knows?
Well, I'm just kind of curious, so I could be wrong here. You guys correct me if I am. And so, we understand they've cut a lot of movies and basically so they can, try to gain back that revenue, I believe, is the process. So that's why they canceled Batgirl to basically, I don't even know the correct terminology, but do a bankruptcy on it and stuff. So their goal was to like get like $3 billion back, but from everything they've cut and everything like that, it's kind of like blown up more to like almost 20 billion. And so it's like what they were trying to do, I think, was trying to save some money, and now they put themselves into a situation where like they can't afford to let anything go because they need anything that's going to generate the revenue because it blew up more than they expected. Am I correct in that? Is that what I've been reading and hearing, or do you guys have more details about that? Maybe Mr. Narwhal can be a lot more eloquent in the verbiage there.
Yeah, so I do have a little bit of context and additional information for this. So, number one, a production company like this switching studios, it's not that unusual. It happens all the time, and in fact, it happened already once with Warner Brothers, because originally Warner's was connected with with Legendary back years ago for a lot of those films that Geek Boy has sort of listed out in terms of their stuff, like the early stuff, right? So then typically, really, it's when you start getting into 2014 when they set up Godzilla with Warner Brothers. That was really the first Warner Brothers Discovery co-production. All the others, they were done, under a different sort of agreement. At that point, they sort of break off from exclusively working with Warner Brothers to work with other companies like Universal, with well, it looks like actually it's just pretty much Universal, and then Netflix as well.
That's right. I forgot Universal. JP was Universal. I forgot about that.
Yeah, exactly. So in terms of, is this going to be a massive shift in the architecture of film just because of this one change? No, but there's a huge caveat to this. It's not just the fact that they have the deal with Warner's has now expired, and they're now shipping shopping these projects and stuff with other groups. It's the fact that Warner's is such a dumpster fire, even with Zaslav in there now, where he's cutting everything, and not just cutting everything, but he is almost actively sabotaging relationships with a lot of these filmmakers. He's canceled the deal with J.J. Abrams. He's canceled many other huge deals. And at this point, Legendary is looking at this and going, yeah, we're not even going to give you the chance. We're going over to Sony, or we're going over to Universal, or we're going somewhere else. And I think that is a huge bellwether for what Warner Brothers is going to be looking at in the next 5 to 10 years. Geek Boy said it earlier that Warner Brothers has long been a studio known for being very director friendly and very talent friendly. Those days are over. That is no longer the case. And by and large, all of these different companies are going to be actively, I think, avoiding working with Warner Brothers, at least until they get their stuff figured out and they get some new leadership in place. And I'm not just talking about Zaslav. I'm talking about the people underneath him who are actually going to be in the trenches dealing with all of this stuff on a daily basis. I think once all of the churn and all the bloodletting is done at Warner Brothers, that may change, but I honestly don't see that taking place for another 5 years or so.
Because see, I'm actually kind of bullish on where Warner's is going to end up. I think they'll actually end up in a good place. Because I think what I like the idea of what Zaslav's doing, but it takes a long time to turn the ship, without hitting the iceberg. But you guys want to know what I think will be the bellwether on whether this thing's going to go down or not. I know Legendary is a big thing because of the kind of movies they make, but there is another company that has had a long, I mean, extremely long and very close relationship with Warner Brothers all through its career. And you want to talk about being director and talent friendly. If Malpaso announces they are leaving Warner Brothers, it's over. And that's Clint Eastwood's company. I think every film Clint Eastwood has ever done, he's made with Warner Brothers. So,
well, he also they're also a huge player with Amblin and New Line. So
they're a big player with Amblin. I thought that was Universal.
Oh yeah, Amblin. They are doing The Color Purple with Amblin in 2023. They're doing a remake.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Goldar, what you got anything on this apart from I think you pretty much said this thing's a dumpster fire right now.
Yeah, it's not looking good for Warner Brothers because I saw an article today that said that it was basically drawing a line in the sand. It says you're either sticking with Warner Brothers or you're going to be it's telling I can't remember if it said studios or actors that said you're either sticking with Warner Brothers or you're out. Get out now, avoid them or you're in locked in. So I think that's going to also kind of inspire a lot of people to kind of reconsider as well. Because if there's a hint that things aren't going to go great or the projects are going to get canceled or never see the light of day, people are not even they're not even going to initiate conversation with Warner Brothers. They're going to it's going to have to be a complete turnaround where Warner Brothers is now going to try to court a bunch of people to start making productions with them again. But the problem with that is if their whole goal is to make movies that are really, really inexpensive with high profits, the best people that they're going to have to go with are these lower budget indie films. So we might see a ton of those start cropping up. We might even get some real good Neil Blomkamp movies. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean,
that could be a good thing.
It's funny you say that. Jason Blum at Blumhouse, he knows how to do this shit on a budget.
Yeah. So we might start seeing more stuff like that, like more, indie films or these really lower budget, but like story driven type things.
Yeah.
So we could see some stuff like that, but we may not ever see like big blockbusters again, because studios might say like, no, we're not going to make a movie for like, $500 million that's just not going to, make back what we put into it. Like, we already made Batman versus Superman, so like we're not doing that again, right? So,
well, if the next Batman movie is a cooking show, we'll know that the it's over with. I mean, and speaking of that, and again, Mr. Narwhal, you may know more about the nuts and bolts and guts of this, but I mean, what does this mean for some of the films that are in production? I mean, the DC stuff is Warner Brothers IP. So I mean, that's that, but like, I think it was Legendary that actually licensed like the Toho monsters. And I think they actually licensed Dune. So I mean, that's their license. That Warner Brothers doesn't own that stuff. Can we theoretically have a Dune Part 1 that is a Warner Brothers film and a Dune Part 2 that Sony or Paramount releases?
Absolutely.
Wow.
That's one of the things about it being a co-finance.
Wow.
Thing where Legendary is the organization that has that great relationship with Toho, not just with the Monsterverse films, but they also did that Detective Pikachu film that made something like 500 million at the box.
And that was a great movie. I enjoyed the heck out of Detective Pikachu. But question on that. So like, if this happens and they start going down the aisle with Dune 2 with wherever they end up with and everything like that. So the actors' contracts, are they with WB or are they with Legendary? Does that follow? How does that work?
That's a great question.
That could get ugly because I think they did some great casting and everything, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's why Justice League cost 70 million, because basically it was considered a whole new movie. They had to pay all the talent again.
Yeah,
I mean, oh my God, this is going to get.
And then the other thing too that I think is going to be a big a fallout thing for not just Warner Brothers, but I could see this going on to other places as well. Is the fact that Warner Brothers, and especially with HBO Max, they have completely pulled so much of their content and completely shelved it. And there are all sorts of creators, directors, showrunners out there that are just livid with Zaslav and the people over there at Warner Brothers Discovery right now for doing this. I would not be surprised if you start seeing this come up in contract negotiations, to where it's like, okay, I will work with you, but we're going to have something in my contract that says that you are not going to bury this show, you're not going to bury this movie, or I'm going to have ownership of it, or I'm going to have some sort of recourse if in fact you do decide to bury my show or bury my movie and try to take a write down on it.
Wow.
Something to watch closely, guys.
No kidding.
Sharks
wow.
in the water.
Yeah. Okay. So
currently, currently there's only 3 films that are in the pipeline as we speak for Warner Brothers and Legendary, and that's
but they're big ones.
Dune Part 2, the new Godzilla versus Kong movie, and then the Christmas Story sequel that they're trying to put together, which I don't have high hopes for. So
no. But 2 of those 3 are going to have the potential to be billion-dollar films.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm
very curious to see how the new Godzilla TV show that Legendary is producing will fall into this, because I don't believe Warner Brothers is involved with that at all.
So no, I don't think they are either. They're producing it for Apple Studios. Yeah.
Yep. And I would not be surprised to see that project be the first one that gets pulled from that arrangement and goes over either to Apple Studios or to one of the other big studios.
You know what, as we're talking this out, talking about renegotiating the contracts and having to split rev, this just tells me Zaslav's going to get the Legendary guys in a room and go, mea culpa. This was the previous management. We need, I will guarantee you, you guys are a part. He's going to give the whole "you're a great partner" talk, and that was them. This is me. Let's work this all. I just think he's going to try to. I mean, plus he needs a win right now. He needs a big win, and there wouldn't be probably any bigger win than that.
We will see.
We'll see. So something. So moving on to another topic that's kind of weird. We had something really weird drop earlier, and it's the Mr. Narwhal show. Thank you there. I can always count on my canned studio audience to back me up.
You know it.
So it's the Mr. Narwhal show tonight because something I know you're really passionate about. We got the first trailer for the Weird Al Yankovic biopic that dropped earlier this week, and as with his music, he is certainly living up to his name. I mean, I don't know if most people know, but nearly everything depicted in this trailer is 100% BS. Go ahead.
If the man who has built his career and his legacy on doing parodies of songs, if he's going to do a biopic, it's got to be a parody of a biopic. That's just, got to be something that happens there. But actually, something that a lot of people may not realize is the talent behind this is a guy named Eric Apple. He's a director that's done a few things here and there. But this is actually his second take on this material. There was a Funny or Die short film that was released back in 2013. Well, it's not a short film, but it's basically a trailer that they made that was sort of a parody, the kind of thing that Funny or Die does.
Right.
And literally, if you watch that original short trailer and you watch the trailer that we just saw, they're almost identical. It's kind of funny to see exactly how much is being carried over from their original idea that they had back in this parody. The actors are completely different, obviously, but by and large, the people that they have in it, even at the original version, they were fairly well-known actors. Some pretty big names that were in the parody, the original parody version.
Right. So what do you two guys think? I mean, I've introduced it. Narwhal's a huge Weird Al fan. Basically, this biopic, almost everything in it's going to be BS or hyper realized versions of it. Like, in the trailer, they depict him being messed up on cocaine. Weird Al's never done drugs a day in his life. I mean, he's a Christian. He's about as straight laced as you get. So, do you think that the normal audience is going to connect with the idea that is it too meta? I guess is where I'm going. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to get to it.
It's going to be tough. I think people who are really Weird Al fans are gonna absolutely hate this movie.
Oh, really?
Like I think they're gonna hate the shit out of this movie because just for like what you're saying, like nothing in it is real, right? Unless the whole idea is that the film is just a complete fake. Like it's
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so in that case, then the Weird Al fans will just love it.
Yeah.
And then average people are going to say like, what the fuck is this? I don't know what's happening here. Like, I didn't know Weird Al did a bunch of bucket of cocaine while eating chicken tenders. Like, and then they won't even be on the inside of the joke. So, on that thought, yeah, I think it'll probably land pretty well. Just not with general audiences.
Yeah. I mean, because the normies aren't going to know.
This is like Dewey Cox, it's a walk hard, the Dewey Cox story, right? The one that they did a few years ago. It's in that same vein, and I think that's sort of how they're really positioning this, at least with the trailer that I saw, is that just looking at the trailer, you can't take it seriously. I mean, it is completely, 100% over the top. That this is going to be
Daniel Radcliffe's playing Weird Al, for God's sake.
I tell you right now, the Queen was not happy to hear about this when she heard Daniel Radcliffe was going to be playing Weird Al. She's like, "Oh hell no, oh hell no." So if I watch this, it'll be in the privacy of my own sanctum sectorium, and basically the queen won't be nowhere
on your
near,
own iPad with the earbuds.
Yes, that's exactly right. She better not
cover over the head.
Yeah, just.
Are you masturbating doing watching the Weird Al show?
So, yeah.
That's almost worse.
Woo. Audacity TV, you're welcome. We're giving you gold tonight.
There you go.
That's right.
But yeah, I mean, I'd seen the trailer and everything. I was like, this is the, untold true story of, the side of Weird Al that never existed. It's got to be almost like a more accurate title of this. And you're right, seeing it made me think of the Dewey Cox story. A trailer right off the bat and everything. So
that's exactly. I never thought. I didn't think about that. That's a good one, you guys. That's good.
Yeah. So. Anyway, I mean,
I'm a big fan of him. I love him. I was in his movie for God's sake. So
yeah. Oh, I love Weird Al. I think he's very. I think he's a very. I mean, don't forget he sells out freaking stadiums, y'all.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, he's the freaking Bob Dylan of parody songs. I mean, for God's. I mean, this man is in his lane. He is a god. So, and by the way, don't know what the movie's gonna be, but Rainn Wilson as Dr. Demento. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Casting gold. I bet the Wonder Bitch is gonna throw a fit because he's not that tall, but
well, it's all you say. He is a god in his lane and everything. And I tell you right now, that lane is not very big. So I mean,
you're right.
I mean, how many people are out there that are making parodies of mainstream songs? I mean, I can't remember the last one he really even did, but I mean, like, if you think about all the ones he's done in his life, I was like, who in the world who else can you even compare him to?
Nobody.
There's no one out there. I mean, you've got Yoda for Lola. You've got, in an Amish paradise. You've got, Fat and Eat It. And I mean, like,
White and Nerdy.
White and Nerdy.
Oh, that's the best one.
Oh my God. I was trying
Amish
to think
Paradise.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many great ones. And it's like, wow, how has no one else ever gone like, you know what? I need to challenge Weird Al for that crown. And like, no one's ever wanted to step up. And
no, they'd be dumb to do that. I mean, and some of the weirder stuff he's done, no pun intended, but like, I mean, the Saga Begins, the Star Wars parody to American Pie. Oh my, and there was one that I don't think it ever got released as a single, but it was from, I don't remember if it was from the UHF soundtrack or from one of his albums, but he did Money for Nothing.
Oh,
but he put the lyrics of the Beverly Hillbillies song.
Yes, he did. He did. And that was so freaking he did release it. It was actually a video.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, he did a music video to it because I remember seeing it and it had like it was in the same artistic thing, but it was like Jed Clampett was, Jed was there and his thing, and if he was all the block paper like Mimecast and everything, it was fantastic. So, but it's like,
God dang,
I don't know. It's kind of weird to say it out loud, but
weird
again, pun intended. Is that you kind of hope someone kind of steps up because we all know Weird Al's not getting any younger.
Yeah,
and to kind of lose that, I don't know what the right word is, but that talent, that ability to take a lot of the music and songs that we love and kind of spin them a little bit that makes them funny, but you still enjoy them. It's going to be a sad day when he passes and no one picks up.
Don't even give word to that right now. Oh my God.
Dude.
We're on the crux of a Weird Al renaissance.
Right.
I mean, like if Rick Springfield can live till 73 and look the way he does, I'm quite sure Weird Al can kind of maybe live a little longer, but who knows? Maybe that good living and he's like, I'm just ready when I'm ready. So
Goldar's like, I could have been doing anything tonight except sitting on a podcast about freaking Weird Al Yankovic.
No, I'm actually looking forward to seeing this.
Oh, really?
I like Weird Al. Like I discovered him when he did songs for the Transformers movie, the 1985, because that's my all-time favorite animated film.
That's right.
So he did Dare to Be Stupid in there. I think he had one more in it too. I can't remember. But yeah, no, like it's I think he's great. So I'm looking forward to seeing this. And you know, and it makes me wonder too, like of all the people that are getting their own biopic, like a lot of people regard like Weird Al as kind of a joke or like satire and things like that. But there's some people that don't even have their own biopic that people like hold to really high regards right now. So it just makes me wonder, like, why haven't we seen more biopics? You know, like like in just in the last few years, we got Bohemian Rhapsody, we got Rocket Man, and then
we got
Elvis, and then there was one more.
You know, guys, Elvis actually drops this weekend on HBO Max.
You sure Zaslav hadn't canceled it?
Well, you know, we still have one more day.
Oh, what was it? Bohemian Rhapsody?
Oh, there was the Aretha Franklin one. Respect.
Aretha Franklin, Rocket Man. There was one more. I can't remember what it was. It was just a few years ago. But we've gotten so many in the last few years that it's kind of like, when are we going to get a Michael Jackson one? Now, I'm sure
or Prince one,
or Prince one, but I'm sure those are probably locked up in like, you know.
I would say probably Michael Jackson. I think just due to the legal issues that he faced towards the end. I think, you know, the last one, if you think about it, the biopic we got was that
Leaving Neverland, or
and I was like, you know, for as talented he was to kind of be that kind of his biopic, it's kind of sad. So I don't know if we'll ever get a music biopic of Michael Jackson for that. But yeah, Prince would be great. You know, there's been tons of ones that we've lost that we've never gotten anything on, and so many are coming to my mind. It's like, you know, like we ever gotten one for George Harrison? We ever got? I mean,
thing about like that though, like there's been so much, and I mean, again, on Disney Plus, there's Get Back right now. There's so many tons of things on the Beatles themselves. I think like an actual biopic on one of them would pale in comparison. And like what you were saying about Michael Jackson, it would be kind of like if they did one for Bill Cosby. You know, these are guys that had huge celebrated careers, and then toward the end, you know, something that either they did in the past or their life, well, you know, let's just say their stories didn't end well the way that we would, you know, and invariably, if you make a movie like that, a group of people is going to focus on the fact that you didn't hammer that home enough. You didn't, you know, regardless of how big a part of that was their actual story. You know, I mean, Prince was a vegan who didn't drink, and he died of a freaking drug overdose, and he didn't take drugs. It was prescription, but that's what everybody remembers,
right?
You know, and it's like, so yeah, I mean, no matter what you do, there's going to be a group of people that aren't happy with, you know, I think Bohemian Rhapsody probably threaded that needle the best.
Yeah, so. I would really like to.
Surprised. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say I think I was going to say something similar to what you were going to say is one that I would like to see is Nirvana. I think that would be an awesome biopic.
Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
I was hoping to see one about Little Richard.
Yeah.
Oh man, that'd be great.
Yep. Well, wait a minute. I thought, didn't they do one?
They did Great Balls of Fire about Jerry Lee Lewis.
No. I thought they did one about Little Richard here in the last few years.
Oh.
Or was it someone else?
They did James Brown.
James Brown, that's right.
That's it. That's the one we probably could remember. Yeah, get on
up. Chadwick Boseman. That was actually really good.
Yeah, because I was thinking, I could have swore Chadwick was the run of it, and I thought it was Little Richard, but yeah, it was James Brown. And so yep.
Yeah. I was trying to think. There's one other one that I really like to see. I can't think of it right now. Maybe Red Hot Chili Peppers. That might be a good one.
Yeah.
It could be an interesting one.
Well, you know that what else? What's his name? Hemsworth's making a Hulk Hogan one.
Oh yeah, he's making the Hulk Hogan one.
Yeah. So yeah, somebody put up a deep fake with like 80s Hogan footage with like Chris Hemsworth's face on it.
Oh, he's serious?
Like, yeah. And I was like, oh, yep, that's it. That's it.
Well, here's the thing. Hemsworth's just goofy enough that they probably cast that perfectly.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's a goofy dude. I mean, he's goofier than freaking Chris Pratt.
Mm-hmm.
I think anyway.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing a Madonna one too. I think that would be a really interesting story.
That's
considering how
that and Cher both would be, again, that'd be tough needles to thread.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when the personality themselves, would want to have all kinds of input on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Run DMC.
Well, that's one of the things that Run DMC would be a great one.
That'd be a good one. I mean, look at how Straight Outta Compton, that was fan-freaking-tastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So again, you're welcome,
Audacity. Easy E would have been a pretty good one.
Well, but he's in the Straight Outta. I mean, they could have done a Straight Outta Compton sequel,
right?
And
with his spinoff. So.
Yeah.
Except he died in Straight Outta Compton.
Right. Well, they could have explored his story more. I'm thinking.
He comes back as a cyborg. And
Easy E 2 Judgment Day.
This is our lower budget a film that's.
Hey man, we're giving WB some canon right now.
Right.
Like, we slice WB slicing budgets right now. He's like, oh man, look, did you guys see that show on the Fanboys 918? They gave us Easy E. He could do that one.
That's I was like, we can do Run.
Right.
Well, it's Run DMC. No, man, we don't have money for the other dude. We'll just do Run.
Just do Run. Just do Run.
Or the Two Stooges. That Two Stooges biopic he's working on be great.
I was actually thinking about this the other day, and they've done a lot of other shows that have been other movies about like Charlie Chaplin and Abbott and Costello and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When are we going to get a Marx Brothers? I mean, I loved the Marx Brothers growing up, and I mean, I would love to see a kind of a biopic of that. I never saw the Laurel and Hardy one. It looked really good. I think John C. Reilly did a great job. It just was one I never got around to seeing, but I think I would, if it was the Marx Brothers, man, I think I would definitely see that one.
That movie casting would be the key to everything.
It would be. Oh, I agree.
And anybody ever see the is it called The Ricardos? The one that's on Amazon Prime about
the one about Ricky and Lucy that has it has what's her butt
Nicole Kidman,
and then Javier Bardem.
Is that who plays Ricky?
I think that's who's playing Ricky. Yes.
Is that him?
He's the guy that played Silva in the James Bond one. Yeah,
correct.
It's Javier. Yep. So no, I've not watched it. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, go ahead and say what you're going to say, and then I got something else here.
Oh no, I was just saying I have not watched it, so that's all I was saying.
So I've looked up here, and I found a article on Entertainment Weekly, and they have a list of upcoming biopics, musical biopics, and would you be interested to hear some of the different subjects of said biopics?
I would love to.
First one is Leonard Bernstein, which I think could be interesting.
That could be.
They're doing one on Bob Dylan, starring Timothy Chalamet.
But I feel like Bob Dylan's already had one though. He did I'm Not There, where it was like he was played by like 5 or 6 different people.
Yeah, because they have 16 million Elvis ones. So
Oh, do they? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, they've done a lot of Elvis biopics. So.
Kurt Russell did one directed by John Carpenter of all people.
What? Is it a horror movie?
No, it's so funny because
is he trying to escape from somewhere?
No. So Carpenter did I can't remember Carpenter's first film was Dark Star.
Escape from Vegas.
Then he shot Halloween. And he was just like, he was under the impression like everybody else, that Halloween was going to be a flop. So as soon as while Halloween was finishing up, he was telling his agent, man, I need work. I got to work. So they said, well, they're looking for somebody to direct this Elvis movie with Kurt Russell. He's like, all right, I'll do it. I mean, he just wanted to work. And so while Halloween is blowing up the box office in theaters, John Carpenter has this movie of the week starring Kurt Russell. That's Elvis.
So what else you got there, Narwhal? What else is on that list?
Well, they're doing one on Boy George.
Okay. Shit.
Yeah, looks like they have one on the Bee Gees that could be interesting.
Oh.
That they're doing one on Teddy Pendergrass.
Oh man, we need a Marvin Gaye one.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And apparently they are trying to do a Michael Jackson one. I don't think it's going to happen, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Luther Vandross would be another good buyout.
Oh,
That
freaking
would
Roger
be
Troutman.
interesting. I would see that.
Yeah.
Roger Troutman invented
and
the
then-
damn talk box or the whatever it's called.
Yeah, they're doing one on Bob Marley. They're talking about doing one on John Lennon and Yoko Ono. But the one that I'm probably the most interested in at this point, just looking at these kind of things, is they're doing one on Amy Winehouse.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh,
That could be a very interesting one, I think.
You know, they tried to get her to go to rehab, but she just said no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Too soon.
I don't know if it's too soon, but just
Not good. Not good.
Did not land.
Didn't land. All right.
So I got so I found a list here of like ones that they should make for people.
They turn on you real quick.
What you got out there, go there?
So I found one where it's got a list here of ones that should be made, and you know we already talked about Bob Marley and Prince and things like that, but there's also David Bowie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that would be good.
There's Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
I was never a big Stevie Wonder fan.
Oh my gosh.
Really?
Yeah.
Ozzy Osbourne.
Dude, that would be a shit show, but it would sure be entertaining.
It'd have to be in subtitles so no one could understand him.
Right. Stevie Nicks.
Yeah, I would watch one on Fleetwood Mac just in general. I saw like a behind the music kind of thing on them a few years ago that was like a dramatized one. I loved it. Yeah, I'm a huge Fleetwood Mac fan.
And then Billy Joel.
Oh, I'd see. Oh man, Phil Collins.
Phil Collins would be a good one. Phil Collins is not on the list, but that'd be a good one.
I think the movie would be music.
Get all of Genesis in there.
Yes, all of Genesis.
Phil Collins, the was it music to commit suicide by Phil Collins, or Phil Collins story.
They also had Mick Jagger on the list, Janis Joplin, and Eric Clapton.
Yeah,
that could be.
I can't believe they haven't done BB King
That's
or
what
Stevie
I
Ray
was gonna
Vaughan
say too. Like, I'm surprised there's not a BB King one.
Yeah,
like that seems like it'd be a home run.
Mm-hmm.
I was shocked the other night that when that Shugal did not know who Stevie Ray Vaughan was.
Wait,
I thought she wasn't it her that we were Life by the Drop came on and she's like, "Who's this?" And Stevie Ray Vaughan. She's like, "I never heard of him."
I don't.
Is that not right?
I don't think so. I don't think
I could have been drinking and just totally wrong. So, all right.
I remember hearing someone say that, but I don't remember who it was.
It's all right.
Maybe I wasn't in the room when it was said, so it's very possible. Or I could have been drunk too.
That's right. And fans don't think that we have a drinking problem. I drink just fine.
That's right. Now we drink just fine. I don't drink anymore or any less for that matter. But anyway, that other one right there. So, all right. So we're going to move on from our biopic topic, but hey, we got some great material here, folks. So I hope you all are enjoying it. Let's move on to our next topic. We received news that the fourth Beverly Hills Cop film, the long gestating fourth Beverly Hills Cop film, has finally started shooting. I believe the title is a giant studio note because it's called Beverly Hills Cop Axel Foley, and the fact that this is a Paramount picture, hey guys, we had Top Gun Maverick and made $1 billion. I think we can, if we can score half that with the title, I think we're going to go for it, So, I've got to ask, how enthused, I'm going to start with Goldar and move around. How enthusiastic are you guys for this movie?
I mean, I think it's been a while since I've watched any of the Beverly Hills Cops movies, so I don't know. I mean, it might be good. I liked Coming to America too. I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I did too.
I don't think it was like gold standard, but it was very entertaining. So I think at this point, Eddie Murphy is on the come up, coming up from his very deep trough of like really bad movies, like
Pluto Nash.
Pluto Nash, Dr. Doolittle sequels, Nutty Professor
Orbit.
sequels,
Norbit. Yeah.
Norbit,
Oh, jeez, God.
Haunted Mansion, just like all these really bad movies.
Yeah.
But Coming to America 2 was pretty good. So
Dolomite was awesome.
Dolomite, I heard, was good. I hadn't watched it.
Dolomite was awesome.
I think that was actually his first one that took him out of that slump.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of hit it with Coming to America 2. And he could be on the rise and everything. So
yeah. So I mean, if he's gonna go revisit some of his old IPs to cash in, but also make something that people will watch or something that's watchable, I'm in for it. I'll watch it.
All right. Reverend.
I guess when I heard this news, I was just like, apparently Beverly Hills Cop 3 is very traumatic in my memory, because when I came up, it is so bad, because when I heard Beverly Hills Cop 4, I was like, I remembered I had a flashback PTSD moment of Beverly Hills Cop 3. Mm-hmm. And I just went, so I don't know. So I will probably, I don't think in my mind, I don't think it will be something that will be released to theaters. It may be streaming platform. I don't know. I don't think if it came out, I would rush to theaters to see it. I definitely would probably see it on a $3 Saturday. That's for sure. I probably, if it comes out, I probably would wait until someone, fell on the sword and went and saw it and like, no, it's fantastic. You got to go. And I'm like, okay, I'll go now. Or I'll just watch it when it comes to streaming. So I'm not excited about it. But, no, I'm just gonna say I'm not excited about it, but we'll see what happens if it comes to fruition.
Mr. Narwhal.
Yeah, no, I'm not excited about this. And honestly, I don't think a lot of other people are. I went and I looked up Beverly Hills Cop for this production, and it's being directed by a guy named Mark Malloy. And if that name doesn't ring a bell for you, there's a very good reason for that. This is his first movie ever. This is his first credits ever. He's done a couple of short YouTube-y kind of things, but this is his first project ever. And so
no pressure.
No pressure. And here's the thing: this is not the first time that they've tried to resurrect Axel Foley. Are you guys aware that they actually did a pilot for a TV series called Beverly Hills Cops that was supposed to focus on Axel Foley's kid, who's a cop, and apparently, Eddie Murphy was supposed to cameo in the show off and on. And so he filmed the pilot episode, and they were like, okay, yeah, now we're going to have you back for this episode and this episode and this episode. And Eddie Murphy basically said, no, I'm not doing that. I did one, and I'm not coming back to this thing ever again. And at that point, the network pretty much said, okay, well, thanks, see you later. And it sort of died a pretty quiet death after that. But I think that sort of, put the bug in his ear, because according to Eddie Murphy, they tested it, and the show was DOA, except for the parts where Eddie Murphy was on screen, and then the numbers are through the roof. And we'll see if this actually carries through to this movie. I honestly would be shocked if this movie actually got any kind of real release. I see this going to a streaming service, being fairly buried fairly quickly.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I've got to say, first of all, these comments are all vaguely reminiscent of how we heard when they were making another Top Gun. Just so we know, I mean, anything can happen, anything's possible, especially because I'm looking at the pedigree here, and I have no idea who Mark Malloy is, but Jerry Bruckheimer is a producer on this, and he's produced all of them. And the first two Beverly Hills Cops were amazing, and the third one was so bad. I mean, if they hadn't screwed up that third one, we'd be making our sixth one right now, because they totally lost the plot with what a Beverly Hills Cop movie was supposed to be. And I blame a lot of that on John Landis. I don't think he was well suited to do a Beverly Hills Cop film. But anyway, I'm in the Goldar camp. I really enjoyed Coming to America too. I know a lot of people were kind of, hating on it or whatnot, but again, it wasn't anything groundbreaking. It didn't make my life better because I saw it. But as legacy sequels go, I feel like it followed the very first rule, which was do no harm to the original, which makes it better than 90% of the rot gut that Hollywood is churning out now. I'm looking at you with a very nervous eye, Rings of Power. Okay, when I say that. And
which premieres this weekend.
Yes. Is it ironic that it was supposed to premiere today and they moved it because today is the anniversary the day Tolkien died. I don't know how I feel about that, the symmetry of it. But anyway, and I think some people look at Coming to America 2 as a letdown. I don't, to me, it was what do you expect from a second Coming to America movie? I mean, and
I didn't see anything wrong with it.
No.
It was an enjoyable film, but you know what?
Hmm.
It wouldn't have been something I'd been happy to spend money on in a massive theater.
You're correct. You're correct.
I think that's what Beverly Hills Cop 4 could be, is like it could be an enjoyable movie on a streaming platform. I think it will lose money going to the theater.
Well, and I am intrigued that they got Joseph Gordon-Levitt in it.
That's true. I like JGL.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of people do.
So I mean, and he's shown pretty good selection of his material too.
Yeah, I can't think of a movie that I've seen that he was in that was really, really bad other than the G.I. Joe movie. But even then, I still was just like, you know what? I'll still watch this anyway because this is the best G.I. Joe we're going to get.
Yeah, it is.
Live action.
And honestly, my biggest complaint about the G.I. Joe movie was a lot of the production design. I didn't like how they changed a lot of the vehicles. And the whole accelerator suit thing was so not G.I. Joe. But
I was like, what are we doing here? Exosuits? Like,
yeah.
What movie? Wasn't there some other movie that did exosuits just before that? That was
it's called Iron Man.
That is true.
They did it better.
They did a lot better. just saying. I think they're still making movies based on that.
Yep.
But yeah, I can say, man, the cast alone has me intrigued, and I mean, again, Joe Kosinski, who made Top Gun Maverick, he'd only made, I think, 2 films prior to that, and they were both well received, but neither one of them were like he did Tron Legacy, which is a movie that, for God's sake, gets better every time I see it. It's a sequel we don't deserve. It is a legacy sequel we don't deserve. It's so good.
Yeah, that movie was good.
It was, oh my God. And especially, like I say, with all the rot gut they're churning out now, this thing looks like a freaking masterpiece. And I loved
tonight's word is rot gut.
It is. Thank you. It's like next week's word will be gravitas. Gravitas. But his other movie was Oblivion, and I freaking love that movie too. So, I never would have thought he would not have been my pick to make Top Gun 2. So I guess Top Gun 2 has taught me keep an open mind till that first trailer drops. That first trailer is going to is going to decide if this movie opens in theaters or goes to streaming, I think.
Interesting that he's only done 3 movies.
Yeah.
Like those movies are spaced apart pretty far.
Yep.
Has he got some TV credits or something?
I don't know.
Kosinski, let me look here.
Oh, Kosinski? Oh,
yeah.
No, I know Kosinski only has 3 credits. I can't remember but he did something else. I think he co-wrote the graphic novel that Oblivion is based on, I think.
Please hold while I access your account.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think that's how Tom Cruise stumbled on it. Kosinski was doing post on Tron, and Tom Cruise was doing post on whatever movie he was doing at the time, and they were in the same edit bay, and he saw Kaczynski flipping through the book, and he's like, "What is that?" And he told him, "He's like, that needs to be a movie." Okay.
Yeah. So he did a Tron Legacy. He did Oblivion. He did a movie called Only the Brave, and he did a couple of little music video short kind of things in between there, and then Top Gun Maverick.
Wow. Guy certainly knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Well, if we have to sit through, Beverly Hills Cop 4 to get maybe a Golden Child 2 out of Eddie Murphy, I'm willing to actually sit down and look at it.
Don't make fun of the Golden Child, man. I love that movie.
I want the movie. Please.
Again, it's the shine's kind of fallen off of it a little bit, but back in the day, that was the shit, man. You caught a dollar movie double feature of Predator and the Golden Child, man.
Yes, sir.
That was a good day right there.
Especially if Mannequin was sold out.
Oh shit.
Again, Golar's like, shit, I could be doing anything but this. Let's do, okay, we got time for our last topic.
I think so. I mean, it's not like it's not a long one, but I mean,
because despite Beverly Hills Cop 4's possible shortcomings, it does have one thing it can boast about that another long gestating fourth installment can't, and that is it actually had a freaking start date. All right. That's right, gang. I'm talking about the often rumored, often rescripted, frequently directorless fourth installment of the Kelvin timeline of Star Trek flicks. And guess what? You got it. Star Trek 4 has lost its director again. In other breaking news, water's been discovered to be wet. I mean, this movie, I think we're in a dead heat with Rogue Squadron and The Flash to see which one ever sees the light of a projector ball. But we should start a lottery, a freaking lottery on Fanboys 918. So what do you guys think about this?
Go. Yeah, Narwhal go.
Narwhal go first.
Oh crap. What do I think about?
He's like, I'm still scratching my head about this.
I'm still scratching my head. Y'all go first.
Okay.
Man, I'll go ahead and go first. I don't even know what to think. I mean, like, this thing keeps having problem after problem after problem. It's like, at this point, it kind of makes me think with everything that we got available to us on TV, is it time to maybe give the movie a break, a rest?
Yeah.
Or, you know what, scrap it and I think we've talked about this in the show before, give it a whole new crew. I think we could do a kickoff movie industry for Star Trek with a brand new crew, a brand new ship. I would like to see it. I think I'd like to drop it kind of in the middle of the original series and Next Generation. Not
the
so,
Lost Era, as they call it.
Yeah, the Lost Era. I think that would be a good. And I'd even say between I don't know, somewhere between like what's the one I'm talking about? Not Generations, but somewhere before the Enterprise and the Next Generation, but after the old series. But somewhere in that kind of. I mean, I think Finn still would love a Sulu captainship story movie or something like that.
If you got John Chu to play him, I mean, that would be cool.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I think it's time that stop going to that same damn well and give us some Kirk stories and Spock stories and or stories that somehow relate to these characters. Give me something new, and like the stuff they've been putting out for like Lower Decks. I know you're not a big fan of it, Geek Boy, but I know I am. I'm loving Lower Decks.
A lot of people do. A lot of people are really digging it.
Yes, yeah. It's great. Prodigy's a kind of an interesting story concept, which has been a lot of fun. And I think that we're ready for something that's a little bit out of the box, Star Trek Discovery, I think, is a little bit too much out of the box because um, it never felt like it predated the original series, nor did it feel like it, jumping forward so far into the future that it felt like it was out of place in the future in my mind. It just it never found its lane, if you will, in my opinion, that to really kind of land Star Trek fans. So I don't know. I think maybe getting back to basics, a new crew, a cool looking ship, and just go tell a story. I don't need don't worry about it how it relates to the timeline in a sense. I mean, don't break our timeline to the point that it's like an utter mess, or like what we've experienced before. But I don't know. I just think let's just start over. Let's start fresh with a movie that basically has a new crew, new ship, and a new
adventure. Goldar, what do you think?
I know this is probably blasphemy, but like Star Trek is probably my least favorite space adventure television series and movie series. Yeah. So I would almost like to see them cross it over with a different genre. So like as we've kind of seen with the trend of Marvel films right now, that have kind of given some of their movies like more, I guess, fresh air. Shang-Chi was like a cross between a martial arts film and a Marvel film. We were like, this is fantastic. Winter Soldier was a cross between like a political thriller and an action movie. We love that.
Yep. Yeah.
So I'm like, why don't we cross Star Trek over with something a little bit different? Like let's make it like a space western or something.
Yeah.
Let's give it a different kind of theme, like a little bit. And I know a lot of people probably might hate that idea, but I feel like as many different worlds and as many different things that they come across, they could make almost any type of tone of film based in that Star Trek universe.
Man, you're not committing blasphemy. You are singing my song. I mean, if you watch the original series, especially that first season, it was basically an anthology show with a continuing cast, because you had one episode they might go to a planet with a salt-sucking space vampire. The next week they're on a planet that developed like the Chicago mobs of the 20s, and that's more of a lighthearted episode. Then they've got, like a Run Silent, Run Deep with Balance of Terror. I mean, that's what the original series was. I mean, exactly what you're saying is exactly the format that Star Trek's bread and butter was built on. Yep. I mean, they went to planets where they found one that was developed like the Roman Empire, I mean, and of course,
or even when the Third Reich actually won and came to power, and so basically Nazis were running everything.
I I used to think that was a Nazi story, but I recently revisited that, and even though it's not done as nuanced as it probably should have been, it's really a Holocaust story. Like, wow, okay, like. But they can't dwell on that part of it I mean, this was 1960s television, but I mean, they don't dwell on it very long, but there are elements like, they're trying to talk about the Holocaust, so there's so many things that start, and I would even say Next Generation did, really well, that that Star Trek is missing. I'm going to agree with the Reverend, and I'm going to disagree with him at the same time. So that is my one thing that I love about the Kelvin timeline. I love that freaking cast.
Oh yeah.
I just, they could not have cast those roles any better. They did try, obviously, but I mean, even though, Chris Pine's not doing a William Shatner imitation, but he's still Captain Kirk. And same thing with Zachary Quinto and all that. They hired actors that were good enough to embody those characters. And I know there's a big debate about Zachary Quinto's portrayal of Spock, but I love that cast, and I like to see them in adventures, and I like to see them do things together. On the other hand, there is a great script that was on the verge of getting made. Like it had basically gotten greenlit, but before they could start any pre-production on it, Kerry McCluggage, who was the head of Paramount and a huge Star Trek fan, got fired because he'd had several flops in a row. And this was after Enterprise got canceled, but before JJ came in and made Star Trek 09. and it was I can't remember, might have been called Star Trek: The Beginning or something like that, but it was about an ancestor of Kirk's who served in Starfleet during the Romulan War, and it was written by the guy who wrote Band of Brothers.
Oh man, that'd be awesome.
It is phenomenal. It was so good, and it was about the outbreak of the Romulan War, like how it all started. And basically it is, when it starts, it's still in basically Enterprise mode, like it's United Earth Starfleet with all these other sort of, planets that we're friendly with, and Admiral Archer was going to be a character in it. And over the course of the war, he envisioned it as a trilogy, and they were like, while they're fighting the Romulans, they're building these coalitions with planet, and eventually basically it's a Rise of the Federation story and a Romulan War story all at the same time.
Oh man,
and
that'd be badass.
People that have gotten their hands on it say, I mean, they curse J.J. Abrams to this day. Like, how the hell did this not ever get made? Like, I guess it's like, I'm just going to describe the opening real quick, and then we got to get back on topic. But like, how the Paramount they always like to use the Paramount Mountain and do something with it. Like the mountain turns into the mountain that Indiana Jones is standing in front of, or what. Well, this one, it starts with the mountain and it zooms in, and how the stars come and hit the water. It goes into that water, and then the waves splash, and it's a regatta, like a regatta race for the Starfleet graduating academy class, and Kirk's like commanding the ship that's in the lead, and they're on the ocean and doing all this. Oh man, people are like, from that moment on, you were sucked in, and this script it's criminal that it didn't get made. I've not been able to find a copy of it, but I've heard people basically break down the bullet points of it. I'm like, dang, just the outline on the whiteboard sounds great. Then to get back to this topic, all this speculation junk, I think that given the director who left, by the way, was Matt Shankman. And given his pedigree, I, for one, am not certain this is a setback. I mean, his biggest claim to fame is that he directed all 9 episodes of WandaVision. And we all know that how I felt about that. By the way, in conjunction with this, I believe now, and we can open the bet, see if we need to open the betting pool. Geek Boy is putting all his chips there. I believe there's going to be a 100% chance going to be announced that he is going to be the director of Fantastic Four at D23.
Pretty good chance.
Since he's left this project, I think they're going to make him, he's Marvel's golden boy for some reason. I don't know, but I think if you want to make this on a budget with someone who knows how to do it, give it to Frakes. Let him do it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's a Trek fan. He's done it before, and he's done some of the more watchable episodes of the modern shows. So that I think they ought to do that. But again,
Narwhal, what do you got?
Yeah, so I'm of two minds here. One, I firmly believe that Star Trek works best in serialized television. I don't think that Star Trek really is done well in the movies, just in general. I'm not saying that there's not good Star Trek movies. There are, but Star Trek is more about the characters, and it's more about the world building, and it's more about smaller stories, as opposed to the giant, balls to the wall action adventure films that we have these days. Having said that, I would be very happy to not see another Kelvin universe Star Trek movie. But if I have to say that there is this new Star Trek movie coming out, there is pretty much one and only one that would have every bit of my money handed to them opening day, and that would be if they would give me a freaking Deep Space Nine movie to finally tie up all the freaking loose ends from that show. And considering how that one. And considering the fact that that the show is really become a lot more beloved and a lot more respected in the past 20 to 30 years, and the fact that there is a huge groundswell for a lot of these 90s television projects, 90s projects that are really coming back into vogue. I know that Deep Space Nine really has a lot of people pulling for it, and I think that could be an amazing film. Plus, it would give you a nice opportunity to sort of tie off a lot of these story threads and things that we have from the different, Star Trek series, apart from what they're going to be doing with Picard in season 3, bringing everybody from Next Generation back from that. This would be a nice way to sort of tie off the rest of those old school Trek projects to really give the fans, I think, something that they would really appreciate.
Yeah, because I thought, how ironic is that both Deep Space Nine and Babylon 5 are having a renaissance right now.
Yeah.
It's so freaking weird. It's like I'm sure Jay Michaels was like, fuck, I can't even get this on my own, yeah, and I was one that I was of two minds of, was it What We Left Behind, the not the documentary, but the series finale of Deep Space Nine. I was of two minds about that. And unfortunately, now that we've lost Rene Auberjonois, I just don't see this happening.
Well, if you remember, he actually went back to his people. So, I mean, he wouldn't really be. I mean, he rejoined with his people. So, I mean, he wouldn't. It would have been great to bring him back, but at this point, he got his ending. He found his family in his race. So,
that's true.
I think his story actually got kind of wrapped up pretty nicely. So, his character, I wouldn't think needed to come back, but he was still a fan favorite, so I understand that.
Yeah, that's one thing is he's a fan favorite. Yeah. And but yeah, I think a Deep Space Nine movie would be great, especially if you get Avery Brooks to participate.
Yeah,
you would almost have to for that to work.
There's
no Avery Brooks, you don't have a movie.
There's rumor that he may pop up in Picard, you guys.
Yeah, I've heard about that as well.
Him and Denise Crosby
do it.
Yeah, I've heard about him, and Denise Crosby is supposedly rumored to. I've heard more about Denise Crosby than Avery Brooks, but I've heard the rumors as well about that.
Yeah, he's been kind of blacklisted in Hollywood, so I'd sure like to see him get back.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that would be really awesome. So, I haven't been a big fan of modern Star Trek, but I one thing I can say about the Kelvin timeline is the great cast, and I would like to see more adventures with them. And
I agree. I agree with you. I've enjoyed them as the actors portraying these characters and stuff, but I don't know. It just seems like they're cursed right now, you know, and it's like sometimes I don't know.
I mean, how sad is it that the kids who got, because Brunch and Bullets will freely admit until she saw Star Trek 09, she could care less. That got turned her on to all the other iterations of Trek. It's sad that generation has now lost one of their cast members. I mean, my God, how terrible! I mean, how long was it before we lost? I think was it James Doohan or no? DeForest Kelly was the first one we lost.
D was the first one to die.
I mean, that was like after the show's 30th anniversary. I mean, God.
Well, you got to think, man. He was still alive for the very first episode of Next Generation. He did the cameo.
The cameo. That's right.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, so that group seems to have not had the best luck. They can't even get their movie made at this point, but who knows?
Only time will tell.
Yeah. All right, guys, we got any last minute topics before we close out?
I know we already brought it up, but those that are fans of the Lord of the Rings, the Ring of Power basically premieres this weekend, like we already said. So make sure you tune in and watch that. And I'm quite sure we'll eventually be talking about it here on the show.
I was going to say, are we going to do a pilot episode review next week? If we want to try to do that,
I know the Queen is not going to wait, so I think that would be great. I know the Queen's not going to wait for that to drop, and then I know I don't know who else on there. I know the Geek Boy's not a big fan of it, but I know the Queen and I have been watching the House of the Dragons and stuff. So I don't know if anyone else is watching that. If we want to,
actually, I was going to propose this. I have a proposal. Okay. Game of Thrones was not my jam because there's only so much anal incest I can sit through in one sitting. But
there's been no incest so far, by the way. Just like
I was going to say, I thought, what about since I wasn't a Game of Thrones fan, what if I watched again with you and the Queen? If I watched the first episode of House of the Dragon and watched the first episode of Rings of Power, and we do which one was better?
That's fine with me.
It could be interesting.
You guys are all welcome to do it too, but like Game of Thrones, once it gets past the Red Wedding, I'm out. that's as far as I got. That became my Yellowstone.
And now the House of the Dragons has Matt Smith, the former Doctor Who.
Yes.
And so that's definitely had one of my sons appealed to watch it as well.
And I'm hearing good things about it. Now, Goldar, have you seen it?
No, the Shoe Gal wants to wait until all the episodes are out and binge them rather than watch them week by week. So we're kind of waiting for that.
Gotcha.
You millennials with your binging and streaming and typing on the phones.
So freaking millennials, my kids. All right, my kids that showed me streaming and finally got to move everything to iTunes. You want a record player for your birthday date? No, screw you. I'm not buying the White Album again. You know.
Oh yeah, we got a record player for here for Christmas. It was some albums. I don't think we played it since January.
8 tracks to come back.
Need me some 8 tracks. I want an 8-track in my car, and then I want to get the 8-track adapter to play cassettes.
Screw y'all. When VHS makes a comeback, I'm there for that.
What are you talking about, man? You still got beta tapes that you want to watch.
Betamax, I want to watch. Yeah.
Oh man, I went to visit my daughter the other day, a few weeks ago in Nebraska, and we wandered around some stores over there. And I tell you what, I found VHS copies of Rogue One and the recent Star Wars movies and a whole bunch of other like new movies, and they were not bootlegs. These were official, 100% legit VHS tape copies of a whole bunch of like new release films. I kid you not. My mouth dropped open. I took pictures of them. I was that surprised.
That's crazy.
So I wonder if it's that they just make them, but like now demand is so low that like Walmart and other chain stores just don't carry them.
Yeah, they've got to be like orders from websites or something to that effect. But
special orders or something.
Yeah. That's interesting.
That is crazy.
That's mind blowing. Wow. Okay. Well, I think that's it for tonight. I want to remind everyone that we have a new episode of Nightcrawler dropping this weekend. We got a new episode of Sci-Fi Friday tomorrow night. I want to thank everyone who's tuned in tonight. I want to thank my co-hosts, Goldar, the Reverend IT Geek, and Mr. Narwhal. I'm Geek Boy for Fanboys 918, signing off.